My name is Adam Montandon. It was called Hardcore Monkey Crash, and I'm just imagining the translators translating that name, Hardcore Monkey Crash. It was the most ridiculous name I could possibly think of, and in fact I went to the bank and said, I'm going to start a company called Hardcore Monkey Crash, and the bank threw me out. I went back the next day and said, well, how about HMC? And they said, well, that sounds a lot more respectable. You can do that. So I'm no stranger to doing things in a crazy or unusual way, and I'm obsessed with doing things in a different way, because in business, being different is the most important thing. We talk about the unique selling point. We talk about daring to be different, but maybe some of you are learning business, maybe some of you are studying business or are interested in it, and you don't learn to be different at all. You read the same books as your classmates, you go to the same classes, you visit the same websites, you write the same sort of business plans, and then try to do something different. And it's really, really tricky. So I thought that this is an interesting challenge. So I'm so obsessed with play and messing around and doing things differently, that I decided to find companies all over the world and people all over the world who are doing things differently so that I could find out what they do and bring their examples to you. And one of the big things that I found in every large company has a legal department. And the legal department just exists to make sure that you don't get arrested. And every large company has a financial department, which makes sure that you don't spend too much money. And every large company has a management department that makes sure that you don't go crazy. But no company ever has an awesome department where they just look at things and say, well, the numbers make sense and it's not going to break the law. How do we make the idea more awesome? And I became obsessed with this idea. So I spent 3 years researching and wrote a book called The Awesome Department, all about companies that maybe think in this way. And, well, what is an awesome department? An awesome department can exist in any company, especially a new startup, where you think about what you're doing with your idea and how you're trying to change the world with your idea, how you're trying to be different and how you're trying to be creative. And I found that the wilder and more unbelievable you are, the better. And this really, really works. And there's a reason why this is important. So, I love to start any good presentation with a bar chart. Bar charts always make things more realistic. This is an employee engagement index from employees in America, okay? They surveyed thousands and thousands of American employees and asked them, in their daily job, how do you feel? Do you feel really engaged and really happy with your job? Or are you kind of in the middle? Or are you just, you know, leaving work early and only doing the bare minimum? And what's interesting is that 52% of American employees said they were not engaged at all in their job, and another 19 said that they were actively disengaged. They were showing up to work and trying to do the minimum possible. So when you think about that, that totals up to a massive 71%. That means that 7 out of every 10 Americans hate their job. Imagine working in a team where 70% of your colleagues hate their job. In fact, who here has worked in an organization where pretty much 70% of your colleagues hate pretty much everything? Come on, be honest. I know a few of you have. I know a few of you have. And how frustrating to not have fun in your job. How frustrating it costs the US every year $550 billion of people being bored, of people checking Facebook instead of doing what they should do, because the passion and the level of awe and wonder isn't in their work. So I found out some of the core reasons why people hate their job. They hate their job because they get stuck. Does anyone ever feel trapped in their job or their studies, like you're sort of forced to be there, like it's almost a little prisoner? I know some of you are very brave in putting your hands up. Maybe some of you aren't because your boss is in the audience in the back there. Sometimes you feel like you just can't get started. You might have a great idea for a career, you might have big dreams, but you just can't get started. And I love this quote, "There's no small ideas, just small budgets." That is a quote from every manager ever who's ever worked in any company ever has said that at one point or another. Sometimes you think that you just can't think in the environment where you are. It's not conducive to creativity. Everybody is creative on some level, but not all companies are creative. There's a lot of companies that are completely brain dead, and I'm really sorry to say that. And sometimes you think, well, what happens if I might fail? If I try to love my job, if I try to do something awesome, I'm probably going to fail. And we're going to hear a lot about those failures a little bit later on. And these things are all internal. These are all things that you blame on yourself. But if you don't want to blame yourself, you can also blame absolutely everybody else. My job would be so much better, but I have boring clients, boring colleagues, and I just can't do it. My job is too boring. My boss doesn't get it. And I'm pretty sure that everybody here in this room has worked for a boss who was a complete idiot. Please raise your hands if you've ever had a boss who was an idiot, right? Yeah? And so this is very dangerous, because when I made my startup, I realized that I was the boss, and therefore I was the idiot. But then the only thing to do in that situation is, if you're the idiot, you should act like the idiot. And I'll show you a little bit how to do this. So this is a nice bar chart as well of all of the things that are wrong with people's jobs. If you don't believe me, I made a bar chart because everyone knows bar charts prove everything. But I wanted to introduce you. This is a little language lesson now. This is a fantastic Danish word because I live and work in Danish. And so this word, arbejdsglæde, is a very strange word. And there's no translation for this word in English, because it means happiness at work. And in England, no one is happy at work. So there's no translation. An equivalent here in Mexico, but this is your Danish lesson language of the day. So when was the last time somebody said, oh, have really good happiness at work today. I hope your work makes you super happy. No, work is supposed to be a punishment. That's why they pay you, because you wouldn't do it for free. You know, only an idiot would work for free. It's such a strange nightmare. And so I want to take you through some of the ideas. So I wrote a book called The Awesome Department, and in it I have 34 different, unusual, creative ideas. I'm not going to go through all 34 because we just don't have time. I'm going to take you through some of my favorites, and if you like it, at the end, I'll give you my email address. You can email me, and I'll send everybody in this room a free download. So this isn't even a sales pitch. And it's in English at the moment, but if you want to help translate it, that's great. So let's get going. So, getting started, when we think about business, business looks serious. And if we think about being successful, maybe it means the Rolex watch and the nice car and the smart tie. And you dress up for the job that you want. So you dress up and you look very serious. But the more serious we become, over the years, we become tired, we become defective, we become despondent, because this is what seriousness looks like on a long period of time. But what is better, what is more exciting, is looking like this. Play, okay? If you've ever seen kids playing, they never get bored, they never get tired, they never want to go to bed because they're so busy creating, playing, interacting. And why do we think that it's acceptable to go from this to being the boring guy in the office? Why does that happen? It's because we think that play and creativity is messy. Anybody who's had a little kid will know that play and creativity is messy. I have a four-year-old son, and he just destroys the house. He's like, Daddy, I'm making things. And so sometimes we worry that creativity looks messy. And for many people, this is what mess looks like. Mess looks like garbage. We don't want this cluttering up our nice, beautiful offices. But it's not so true, because this kind of behavior, this kind of mess adds value, because this is where this begins, okay? Every masterpiece has to begin with a completely destroyed kitchen table with paint pots everywhere. So this is where creativity and play adds value. And I'll give you some wonderful examples of how you can change the way that you think about businesses to add value for yourself. And one of my favorites is this idea that business is an excuse. Okay? Now, a lot of people think that business is to make money, and that's fine, you can make money. But for me, business is an excuse to be so creative with your life. It gives you a chance to design how you live. You're going to spend so much of your time at work, you may as well spend your time doing something that you absolutely love. So no matter what it is that you do, at some point you're going to have to earn some money. And it doesn't matter, money doesn't care where you earn it from. So you may as well earn your dollars in the most interesting, exciting, and crazy and delightful ways, rather than in a boring, ridiculous way. So business is an excuse to do whatever the hell you want. Break all the rules and have lots of fun. If you've got a celebrity that you want to work with, make a business that's attractive to that celebrity. If you've got a hero that you always wanted to collaborate with, make a business that allows you to collaborate with your heroes. If there's always something that you've really wanted to do, make a business that helps you do that. It's a creative outlet. Another wonderful idea is this idea of doing it for the story. So many creative businesses do things for the story, not for the money. Who's heard the phrase, we should do it for the money? Yeah, you've heard that phrase? Well, let's do it for the money. We need some money. But do you ever hear someone say, let's do it for the story? Hardly ever. But you can do things for the story. When you're creating a business, think about the stories that you will tell, because stories last much longer than money. You can spend money, but stories never go out of style. And I'll show you what I mean. This is a young guy, his name is Jake Nickel. And he made a brilliant story because he invented a t-shirt company. A completely crazy t-shirt company in Chicago called Threadless. And they design all sorts of wild t-shirts, but they don't have any designers on their staff. They let anybody on the internet design a t-shirt and sell it for pretty much any price. And then if you like the design of the t-shirt, then you buy it, and if you don't, you don't. And one day they sat around and said, well, we sell our t-shirts and the t-shirts cost maybe $10 or $20. I wonder if we could do something bigger. I wonder if we could sell the most expensive t-shirt in the world. And what? Why would you sell the most expensive t-shirt in the world? That's a ridiculous thing to do. But it will make a good story, and people will remember us for it. And maybe we can change the world whilst we do it. So they sat down and tried to figure out what would be the most expensive t-shirt in the world. Would it have diamonds and gold and jewels on it? No, it would just have a really high price tag. That's the only thing that makes it expensive. And so they sat around and they said, well, what's the most expensive t-shirt we can possibly sell? Well, how about $300,000 for a t-shirt? Like a $10 t-shirt, but we'll sell it for $300,000. And they said, no, that's too crazy. No one will believe that. But they put it on sale anyway. And they decided to do this for the story, and they decided to take the money and donate it to UNICEF. And they figured that $300,000 was about the same price as an entire cargo-dropping airship to drop relief into countries that needed it. And so this is what a t-shirt looks like that costs $300,000. This is the most expensive t-shirt in the world. It looks like that. And it's such a brilliant story that once they put it on sale, people liked the story so much. It didn't sell for $300,000, it sold for $450,000 because people loved the story. They weren't doing it for the money. And so I love this. You can think about how stories can transform people. Stories can inspire people, even if the product is stupid. None of this makes any sense. but it makes a story. So the next time you do something, think, am I doing it for the money or am I doing it for the story? Okay, next one. This is beautiful. I love this, and especially if you're young in the audience and you're thinking about setting up your own company, this is something that's beautiful to remember. There's no monopoly on creativity. Creativity is the only resource that you have that nobody else can take away. You can't buy more of it. More money doesn't get you more ideas. A brilliant idea can come from anywhere, and the next big company is just as likely to hit you in bed at 2 a.m. in the morning than it is to come from Microsoft. And don't forget, the biggest companies of our time, companies like Google, started off with 2 guys in a garage. It was just an idea. Big ideas, creative ideas, but then they become big companies. It's not really the other way around. You can't have a monopoly on creativity. So if you ever feel a little bit scared and think, I want to make a business, but I'm full of doubt because the big guys will just kick my ass, don't worry about that, because there's no monopoly on creativity. Another thing that's really fun is thinking about the mindset behind business. And so many people get this wrong, so I really want to share this with you. When you go into business to make a lot of money, you don't go into business to make a lot of money. You're going to spend that money on something somewhere. And for me, the thing that I like to spend my money on is going on to nice vacations and sitting on the beach and drinking a nice drink and watching the waves go by. And so no matter how much money I would ever earn, that is what I would spend my money on. There's a team called Project Getaway who flipped that completely. If you've ever heard of Project Getaway, give them a Google. They're really cool. What they do is they invite young entrepreneurs to fly somewhere beautiful, to find the most fantastic, spectacular beaches. They set it up with high-speed Wi-Fi and lots of laptop computers, and they get people to sit on the beach and build businesses. And you go for 30 days on vacation to build your business. And the only rule is that in your first 30 days, you make enough money to stay there for the next 30 days. And so on, and so on, and so on. So if you do it right, you never leave the beach. And this is a really powerful thing, because sometimes we don't really know what we're aiming at. We don't know what our targets are, and we set impossible targets. I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a billionaire, but we never think why. And so if you think, well, you'd spend all day on the beach, build a business that allows you to spend all day on the beach. Plenty of people do, and it's a reality. This one, sell it before you start it. This is the cheekiest tip that I've ever found. And I think someone asked a question a little bit about this, about if you've got a good idea, how do you get it off the ground? And it's really simple. Sell it before you start it. If you've got an idea, somebody somewhere will help you get that idea off the ground, whether it's through money, whether it's through help, partnership, support, or other intangible elements. Somebody will help you. If you can't find somebody to help you, you're just not selling your idea right. So put all your effort into convincing people that your dream is a dream worth building, and then it will be unstoppable. And this is a really key trick. Don't try to take money from your parents or your bank or anything like that. Don't invest anything personally into your idea other than selling it and making it as real as possible so that somebody can buy it. Because we think that we buy products. We think that we go to the supermarket and we buy food and we buy products and things that we're used to touching. But the truth is, we buy things in our mind way before we buy things physically. And this might seem a little strange, but once you try it, once you do it, you'll be surprised what you can sell. If you've seen a successful Kickstarter campaign, you'll know exactly what I mean in this respect. And this story is brilliant. If there's one thing that you can do today, if you've got a little bit of an idea for a business or a little bit of an idea for a dream in your head, don't keep it in your head. talk it into reality. This is something incredible that I found. I want to share with you the best story ever. The more that you talk out loud about your idea, the more people that you tell, the more likely it is that it will come true. And I want to tell you this brilliant, beautiful story. So, I know a girl that I met whilst I was finding strange people for my book. I found a wonderful girl called Denise. She lives in Australia, and she's completely insane. And not only is she completely insane, but she went and got married and had the best time on her honeymoon. Has anyone here got married and just had the best time on their honeymoon, right? A few people, right? It's great. The honeymoon is brilliant. It's a holiday and sex, and it's really expensive. What's not to love? And everybody loves their honeymoon. Nobody comes back and says, oh, my honeymoon was a disaster. Oh, it all went wrong. No, you have the best time. And she said, this is so cool. I should just be, like, on honeymoon forever. Like, why isn't that my job? Why doesn't someone just pay me to go on honeymoon? And when you think about it, yeah, that's a nice idea, but it's kind of stupid. No one's going to pay you to go on honeymoon. But she told all of her friends, you know, someone should pay me to go on honeymoon. And she asked more and more people, you know, how can I do it? I've got some cats. Maybe I better get rid of my cats, because when I start my new professional honeymoon job, I won't be able to look after my cats. And she really went through her whole life telling everybody that that was what she was going to do. Until one day, a travel agent called, and they said, hey, Denise, your friend was telling me that you want to go on honeymoon forever. Well, we need somebody to be a honeymoon tester, and we wondered if you could have the job. I was like, what? And she became in the Guinness Book of Records for the most married woman in the world. She got married 87 times to the same guy. And she got married bungee jumping and jumping out of an airplane. She got married scuba diving underwater. She got married in pretty much every country that you can imagine, because everybody loves their honeymoon, and you need someone to tell you, well, a bungee jumping honeymoon is a lot better than a scuba diving honeymoon. We need these things to be tested. But if she'd have just kept that to herself, that would never have come about. And so I just want to share these things with you, that if you've got an idea, tell everybody, because someone somewhere will help you. Another one that is really, really important is, I'm pretty sure that everybody in this room has got a dream of something that they would like to do, either a product that they would like to invent, a company that they would like to make, or a job that they really want to do. And sometimes those dreams are really big. And when we have really, really big dreams, they can be really hard to get them into reality, because they stay as dreams. And it's really comforting to keep our dreams with you. If you ask anybody over the age of 50, they'll tell you, oh yeah, when I was a little boy, I always dreamed of being a spaceman. Or when I was a little boy, I always wanted to be a fireman, or something like that. And then they lived their whole, a big chunk of their life, and didn't become a spaceman or a fireman. They did all of the other stuff because their dreams seemed so big that they couldn't do it. If you can manage your dreams and put them into little chunks and think about what is the very first step that you can make towards your dream, it's so powerful, because as soon as you stop dreaming dreams and start living them, they come into reality an awful lot quicker. You will find 1 million people who have never lived their dreams, and the few that try are the ones that are really, really happy. So if there's one thing that you could do today, it would be to think about what your big dreams are and what's the first tiny little baby step towards it. If you've always dreamed of owning a Ferrari, go to the Ferrari dealership and book a test drive for one, and then all of a sudden you'll feel a lot happier about owning your Ferrari one day. Huh? Or buy a small one, yeah. So another one that I want to show you, this is so powerful and so brilliant. And I love this phrase, money is a side effect of awesome. This is really important. If you focus on the money from the start, that's okay. But if you focus on making things awesome, if you're lucky, the money will follow. And if you're not lucky, well, you still did something awesome. Or maybe it wasn't as awesome as you thought. So I want to tell you a true story. I want to tell you a true story about a dad who was completely awesome. All dads are awesome. I'm a dad, I should know. And there's a a lovely couple in America called Kim and Beaver, and one day the wife turns to the husband and says, "Hey, honey, you remember it's our son's birthday party tomorrow?" And he went, yeah, of course, it's our son's birthday party tomorrow. And you promised you would arrange all of the games and fun for all the boys because it's, you know, his eighth birthday. "Oh yeah, darling, of course I arranged all the games for the birthday party." "Oh, good. What games did you arrange?" "Nothing. I'm just going now." And he forgot completely to arrange any games and activities for his son's 8th birthday party, which would be quite disastrous, and especially because it was late at night. So he's driving around through the town, and all the stores are closed. It's late at night. There's nothing. He's completely out of ideas, until he finds a Home Depot, a hardware store. It's the only place that is open. And like a truly optimistic dad, he walks into the hardware store and goes, where's the children's games section? You know, there's got to be something in here. Nothing. But as a creative dad, he found a huge pile of white pipes and tubing and bits of pipe and strange shapes, and they were just the leftovers from a big plumbing job. And the dad said, "You know, maybe I can do something with this." So he bought a huge barrel full of pipes and tubes and brought it to the kid's birthday party. He was like, "Surprise, here's your game, loads of bits of pipe, you'll figure something out." And what happened was, one of the kids around the dinner table took a piece of pipe, and they took a marshmallow candy, and they shoved the marshmallow in the pipe and blew it out like a blow dart, and it hit another kid in the face. And the other kid thought, okay, this is pretty good, and so he picked up another blow dart and made another one. And within a few minutes, they'd assembled so many pipes that they generated sort of miniature shooters and machine guns, and they were shoving marshmallows down the end and firing them out. Now you think, okay, this is fun for a little kids game, but the kids had so much fun, and it was such a ridiculous idea. Another one of the dads who came to pick up their child from the party saw the kids running around the garden, shooting each other in the face with marshmallows. And the dad was a product developer and said, "You know what, you could be onto something." And pretty soon they created a company and they created prototypes. And last year, the Marshmallow Fun Company did $15 million in turnover of marshmallow weaponry, okay? So this is a genuine, real toy. You can buy a bow and arrow that fires marshmallows. You can buy a machine gun that shoots marshmallows. It's hilarious, it's crazy, and it's ridiculous. But it only happened because the dad and the kids were prepared to do something awesome. And you would never think that there's a $15 million a year business hiding inside, you know, a late night trip to Home Depot and a bunch of 8-year-old boys. So if you can make a business from that, you can make a business from anything. So I really love that story. There's another thing as well that frustrates the hell out of me. It's when people get stuck. Does anyone ever feel stuck in what they're doing? You feel like, yeah, Adam, all this stuff you're telling me is great, but I'm stuck, I'm trapped, I'm in the system. And a lot of people that are creative don't even know that they're stuck. So there's a test that you can do, and you should do this pretty much every few weeks to see if you're stuck. Okay, and we can do this now. I want you to think about what you do on a normal, average day. Think about your typical day at work or at school. Think about the things that you do at work. Think about the emails that you send, the people that you talk to, the things that your boss gets you to do, the phone calls that you make, the people that you sit next to whilst you're eating lunch. Think about all of those things on a typical day. Now, think back in time 3 months. Whose typical day today is pretty much the same as their typical day 3 months ago? Who's doing pretty much the same thing? Don't be afraid, raise your hands. Okay, quite a lot. Who is doing the same sort of stuff that they're doing today, but 6 months ago? Anybody still doing the same thing they were doing 6 months ago? A few more, yeah? What about a whole year ago? Who does the same sort of stuff now that they did a year ago? Anybody? A few. You're being very brave to admit it. If you've ever been doing the same sort of thing for too long, then you're really stuck and you're not progressing and you're not innovating. You're just traveling around the planet and slowly orbiting the sun and getting older and older, and you're not moving anywhere. So think about this. The next time you've been doing something for too long, think, am I stuck? Can I make a change? Is there something creative that I can do in my life to innovate? And I'll show you some things that you can do to help you out a little bit. This is really fun. If you ever feel stuck, do an undercover mission, especially if you're young. If you're a student, this is the best thing to do, okay? The best way to learn about business is not to read about it in a book, and it's not to Google a company on the internet. It's to do an undercover mission, where you find a company, you sneak in stealthily, and go in and learn everything about that company. And you should be doing this every month. Learn something new about a new company. And if you're a student, you can get away with anything, because you can say, oh, I'm working on a school project, and can I just interview the CEO of the company? And, oh, yeah, sure, no problem, come right in. They'll give you all their secrets, and yeah, it's for the school newspaper, or something like that. You'll learn more with an undercover mission than you could ever imagine from a textbook. So I love to do undercover missions and learn things about companies, especially weird and wonderful companies. And I've got some pictures from an undercover mission that I did recently to a company in America called Zappos. Do any of you know Zappos in the States? Yeah, a few? So Zappos is completely crazy. They just sell shoes on the internet. It's not big, it's not fancy, it's just selling shoes. But when you go to the office, it's completely insane. One of their floors is decked out entirely like a jungle, which I think is pretty cool. But then they do weird things, like if you walk in through the front door and you're wearing a tie, they slice it off before they let you in. So you're not allowed to wear a tie in their office. And you would never find this in any book. And you think, why? Why would a company slice your tie off when you walk through the door? And you realize it's because they're completely insane. Completely. And you think, no, how insane can they be? I'll show you. So they have a desk called the R desk. The R desk is the resources desk. And what happens is, if you're working away on your job and you need a bit of help and you get a bit stuck, you can call the resources desk and someone will come and help you. So maybe your computer's not working, someone will come and fix your computer. Maybe you've got a problem or a technical problem, someone will come and help you. But it's kind of embarrassing to ask somebody for help. Sometimes we'd prefer to fix our own problem than ask for help. So they started to refer to this resource desk as the R desk. And then they started to refer to it as the R desk, because that sounded more like pirates. And people like getting help from pirates, because everybody loves pirates. So they have a whole department that not only helps you out, but they dress as pirates. So if you've got a problem, you call them up. And sometimes they come in little cardboard pirate ships with cannons and everything to help you out. And this is incredible, because this is so stupid, and this is so ridiculous, and this doesn't make any sense, but it brings creativity. And this little shoe website sold just recently to Amazon for the small sum of 1.2 billion US dollars. So there is an awful lot of value in insanity. And you can do an undercover mission at Zappos. You can just call them up and they'll show you all around the whole place, and the whole place is completely weird. So if you ever worry about where am I going to get inspiration from, find these companies like this. You can also do smaller things. I love to encourage small boosts of creativity. Some of you were at my workshop yesterday, where we had lots of small boosts of creativity. One of my favorites is you just look for any opportunity to be a little bit weird and see what happens. So who's done a brainstorm where you have loads of post-it notes and you stick the post-it notes on everything? Yeah? Okay. Don't stick the post-it notes on the wall. Stick the post-it notes on a guy and make them walk through the street. Okay? This is the best way to brainstorm if you ever want to test your ideas. Another project, this is absolutely true, this is a creative boost. This is something that I used to do at my company that we call the big yellow ball. And this was a really fun creative boost. we would take a huge, maybe 2-meter high, giant, inflatable, bright yellow plastic ball and put it in the middle of our office. And whenever anybody would come in for a meeting, even if it was the most boring person in the world, even if it was, you know, the most dull accountant ever, we would say, well, before we have the meeting, you have to jump on this giant, bright yellow, 2-meter high ball. And they were looking at, no, no. And I'd turn the ball around, and on the ball would be the signatures of all of the people who had jumped on top of it. They'd, what, all these people did it? Are you serious? Said, yeah, you're not going to be left out, are you? We can't have the meeting unless you jump on the big yellow ball. And they're like, okay. And they go tentatively, and it's too big, they can't do it. So the next thing, the jacket comes off, and the tie comes off, and they're like, I'm going to need a run-up. Hang on, hang on, hang on. And then they're leaping on top of this ball. And it's really tricky to jump on top. And then, of course, they're laughing. They're going crazy. And we're filming it and putting it on YouTube, of course. And so if you go and look for the big yellow ball on YouTube, the Ball of Fame, you'll see maybe all sorts of different executives trying their hardest to not fall off a giant inflatable ball. And you think, why? Why would you make somebody jump on top of a giant yellow inflatable ball before having their meeting? And it's because no matter how boring you are as a human being, once you've done something stupid like that, everything else seems fine. So I could then pitch someone the weirdest idea ever, and they'd say, well, it's weird, but it's not as weird as jumping on a giant yellow inflatable ball, so okay. And it's an incredible way to present ideas. And I think one of my favorites as well, this is, I think, one of the last ones. Later on tonight, you're going to hear about the mistakes that people make. But I want to show you how the most creative companies deal with mistakes. And if you're a manager, or if you're in charge of people, or you ever want to be in charge of people, please, please, I beg you, do this, okay? Create what we call a crisis ritual, okay? A crisis means something's gone wrong, and a ritual means we do the same thing every time. So I'll give you an example. In Britain, whenever something goes wrong, it doesn't matter if it's something big or something small, the answer is always the same. The first thing that a British person will say, you can say, oh, my dog died today. Or you could say, oh, I didn't spell check the document before I emailed it. No matter how simple or how big it might seem, a British person will say, let's have a cup of tea. And every time, without doubt. And you can watch every single soap opera, every kind of dramatic TV show. Oh my gosh, there was an explosion and everybody's dead. What do we do? I'll make a cup of tea. I swear to you. And what it means is that we handle disaster in a consistent way. And so many bosses and so many managers do not handle disaster in a consistent way. When you think about it, if you make a mistake at work, there are some mistakes that you can make that are okay. And there are some mistakes you can make that can get you into trouble. And there are some mistakes that you can make that will get you fired. But who's to say which mistake is worse than the other? And some people at work will get treated differently. You might know the one guy in your office who's a real idiot, and he gets away with absolute murder, and everybody just looks the other way, and they just don't care. And somebody else does the tiniest thing wrong, and they're on a disciplinary action for months. And it becomes inconsistent. If you're dealing with creative people, you need to let them know that no matter what goes wrong, you're going to deal with it in a nice way. And if you make them a cup of tea, that's absolutely brilliant. Or find your own way to celebrate a problem. And this is a wonderful way to encourage creativity. So please, if you're in charge of people, make sure you do that. So these are just some ideas, and they're not always applicable for everybody, but I hope that there's one or two ideas that you can take. But if you want some more, you're more than welcome. You can fire me off an email. If you email adam@awesomedepartment.com or hit me on Twitter, I'll email you a PDF with all of the other stuff, because there's lots more, and they're all even more ridiculous than the ones that I've shown you. So please do send me an email and say hi, and I'll send you a PDF download. And so that's what I wanted to share with you. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much.